The pounding on my door began promptly at 7 a.m., just as it had every Saturday for the last 3 months. The thuds practically pulsed with smug self-importance as I shuffled over, coffee mug warming my palm. Peeking through the peephole, I spotted her instantly, Patricia Garrison, HOA President Extraordinaire and the relentless tormentor of every homeowner on Maple Ridge Drive. She was gripping her clipboard like a shield, her usual scowl carved deep into her features. "Open up, Mr. Harrison," she shrilled, voice slicing through the door. "I have official HOA business to discuss with you, and this time, you're not avoiding me." I took a leisurely sip of my French roast, savoring the flavor, and the moment I was about to deliver. When I finally swung the door open, Patricia was already winding up for a tirade. But I didn't let her get a single word out. "Good morning, Patricia," I said smoothly, flashing a calm smile as I reached into my pocket. "I've actually been waiting for you. You'll need these." I dangled a set of keys between us. Her eyes squinted in confusion, then went wide as saucers. "Those are the keys to your house." A beat passed. Then I added, "In my house now. You've got 30 days to move out." The silence that fell was glorious. Patricia's face cycled through a fascinating color wheel, first a furious red, then a bewildered pink, finally settling into a pale, ghostly white. Her clipboard slipped from her fingers, papers fluttering down like snow over my porch. "Tabith, what? What are you talking about?" she croaked, voice stripped of its usual bite. "You're home at 427 Maple Ridge Drive," I said, still smiling. "I bought it at the foreclosure auction last Tuesday. Congratulations, Patricia. You're officially my tenant, for the next 30 days at least." Let me rewind and explain how we arrived at this satisfying moment. I'd moved to Maple Ridge 6 months earlier, lured by quiet streets and towering oak trees. It seemed like an ideal, peaceful place to work from home and enjoy my weekends. That fantasy lasted exactly 3 days. My first encounter with Patricia happened when she materialized on my doorstep wielding a measuring tape and an expression like she'd bitten into a lemon. Apparently, my mailbox was 2 inches too close to the sidewalk, violating HOA Regulation 7.3 subsection B. A week later, it was the color of my garden hose. Then it was the angle of my porch light. Then the species of grass in my lawn. At first, I tried to be reasonable. I shifted the mailbox, bought a regulation-approved green hose, adjusted the light, and even contemplated resodding my entire lawn. But nothing was ever enough for Patricia. My very presence seemed to offend her. Soon, things escalated. Patricia began leaving violation notices on my door daily, sometimes multiple times a day. She'd prowl around my yard snapping photos from every angle, determined to catch me in some alleged offense. When I installed security cameras to record her harassment, she complained they disrupted the visual harmony of the neighborhood. Then she truly crossed the line. She tried to fine me $500 for owning garbage cans in Sahara Dust Beige instead of Desert Sand Beige, a distinction only a deranged paint swatch fanatic could care about. That $500 fine was my breaking point. I started attending HOA meetings, hoping to reason with the board. But there was no reasoning. Patricia ruled those meetings like a miniature dictator, quashing dissent with procedural tricks and thinly veiled threats of increased fines. But Patricia overplayed her hand. In her obsessive hunt for my supposed rule-breaking, she began stepping onto my property uninvited. My cameras captured her measuring my rose bushes, inspecting my driveway for oil spots, and even trying to peer through my garage windows. When I called her out for trespassing, she actually laughed and claimed the HOA bylaws gave her the right to inspect private property. That's when I called an attorney. Janet Morrison, who specialized in HOA disputes, reviewed the bylaws and confirmed Patricia was way out of line. We sent a cease and desist letter, which Patricia completely ignored. Instead, she tried to evict me from the neighborhood, labeling me a disruptive influence. Her eviction threat was laughable. I owned my home outright and had broken 0 laws. Patricia was hoping I'd fold under legal pressure and costs. She didn't know I'd just sold my tech startup and had both the time and cash to fight back. During discovery for my countersuit, my attorney stumbled on something fascinating. Patricia's financial records, subpoenaed as part of our harassment case, showed she was drowning in debt. She had maxed out credit cards, a second mortgage, and had fallen months behind on payments. Any sympathy I might have felt vanished, given the misery she'd caused me. Instead, I saw an opportunity. We kept an eye on her home's foreclosure status, and sure enough, it hit the auction block a few weeks later. Patricia either hadn't noticed or was in denial. The auction happened on a Tuesday morning. I arrived in a suit, bid carefully, and left as the new owner of 427 Maple Ridge Drive. The irony was delicious. Patricia was so fixated on evicting me, she'd ignored the danger of losing her own house. I spent the next few days ensuring the paperwork was flawless, title transfers, insurance, every legal detail handled meticulously. If you're going to deliver poetic justice, you want it airtight. Which brings us back to that glorious Saturday morning. Patricia was still on my porch, her jaw working wordlessly. At last, she managed to squeak. This is impossible. You can't. I'm the HOA president. I'll have you arrested for fraud. Go ahead and call the police, I said, casually taking out my phone. Better yet, let me dial 911 for you. I'm sure they'll love hearing about all those times you trespassed on my property. She snatched the documents from my hand, trembling as she flipped through them. I watched her expression fall further with each page. The foreclosure notice she'd ignored, the auction announcement, the deed transfer, all legal and indisputable. But I didn't know there was an auction, she whimpered. That's between you and your mortgage company, I said. They're required to notify you by certified mail and public posting. Not my problem if you didn't pay attention. Her legs gave way, and she sank onto my porch steps. For a fleeting moment, she looked like a defeated woman instead of the neighborhood tyrant. Then rage flashed in her eyes. The HOA board will hear about this, she snapped, venom returning. We'll reverse this sale. You can't do this. Actually, I can, I replied coolly. And as your new landlord, I'll be conducting a full property inspection tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll need you to be present. I paused, then added, oh, and your rent will be $3,000 a month if you choose to stay. First month and security deposit due immediately. She scrambled to her feet, clutching the documents as if they might dissolve in her grasp. $3,000? That's outrageous. My mortgage was only $1,800. Market rate for a 4-bedroom in this neighborhood, I shrugged. Of course, you're free to find other accommodations. You've got 30 days. Over the next week, Patricia pulled out all the stops. She convened emergency board meetings, hired a lawyer she couldn't afford, and even tried to interest local news outlets in her tale of victimhood. But everything I'd done was entirely legal. I'd purchased a home at a lawful foreclosure auction. End of story. Her attorney, probably working pro bono out of pity, advised her to cut her losses and move. Meanwhile, the HOA board, freed from her iron rule, looked almost relieved. A few neighbors quietly thanked me for ending her reign of terror. Patricia's last desperate move was calling a special meeting to amend the HOA bylaws to protect board members from eviction. But without her usual intimidation tactics, she couldn't rally enough support. Instead, the meeting took an unexpected turn. Roger Dalton, the board treasurer and once one of Patricia's closest allies, stood during public comments. I move to hold a vote of no confidence in our current HOA president, he said firmly, ignoring Patricia's murderous glare. 3 other board members instantly seconded the motion. Patricia's downfall seemed to inspire everyone she'd bullied over the years. A vote was scheduled for the following week. I attended, sitting in the back alongside homeowners who'd endured Patricia's tyranny. One by one, neighbors shared their grievances. The elderly woman fined for a bird bath an inch too tall. The young couple harassed because their kids' bikes were the wrong colors. The veteran Patricia tried to stop from flying an American flag. When it came time to vote, the result was a landslide. Patricia was ousted by a margin of 47-3. The only votes in her favor came from Patricia herself and 2 board members who probably just felt sorry for her. As the results were read, Patricia's face crumpled. In the space of a few months, she'd lost her home, her power, and her reputation. The room erupted in applause as Roger declared her removal effective immediately. Patricia stood frozen for a moment, then scooped up her belongings and bolted from the community center. The very next day, code enforcement officers showed up at her house. Multiple neighbors, now unafraid, reported violations they'd kept quiet about under her rule. Inspectors found a slew of issues: unpermitted additions, fences too high, even garbage cans painted the wrong shade of beige. The total fines exceeded $8,000. And that, dear reader, is how the self-appointed queen of Maple Ridge Drive ended up dethroned and evicted from her own castle.